Welcome to the Inspire and Learn series. We are TMG Yachts, a multi-award winning dealership in Australia specialising in multi-hulls, power and sail. Join us as our expert team teach you all about anchoring, docking, rigging, sail trim, maintenance and so much more, so you can build confidence in your boat handling ability.
In this video, we'll demonstrate how to use an asymmetric spinnaker on a catamaran. Enjoy!
Today we are lucky enough to be on board a near new Lagoon 42. Now it's quite exciting today because we're actually on board with an owner who's receiving some instruction from our service team Vessel Tech. A bit of a hybrid model we've got going here today, but we'll be taking you through all the systems and operation of this asymmetrical spinnaker in conjunction with the owner on board. My name is Joe Fox from the team at TMG Yachts, and we do hope you enjoy this next Inspire and Learn video. At present, we're on Pittwater just north of Sydney. We're actually just motoring upwind just for efficiency. When we get upwind, we'll hoist the mainsail. It's important to have your mainsail hoisted when you are flying a downwind sail to give the rig and structure extra support with all the pressure on the front end of the vessel. Just as we head upwind, I'll take you through the setup that we have for the asymmetrical spinnaker. So this is the port sheet. Now this is run all the way down the side of the boat through a turning block here. Now this is the same turning block we'd use for a symmetric kite or a code 0. So sheet comes down either side of the boat to a turning block and then to a winch. We have the same setup on the starboard side. Let's go further forward and take a look at the setup there and how the sail is set up on the deck before we hoist it. It's important to note that the sheets, whether you're flying any kind of downwind sail, run outside of everything. So outside of the rails here, and any spare halyards coming down the rig outside of them. So when the sail goes up, it's outside of everything. We have the asymmetrical kite prepped and ready to go. So I'll just talk you through some of the setup that we've done here in preparation for this. While it is a spinnaker, it is fundamentally just as simple in a way as the genoa or the jib or the code 0. It's a 3-cornered sail. It has a head and it has a tack which goes on the pole at the front, and it has a clew, and the clew is where you attach the sheets for trimming the sail. The operation for getting this sail up in the air is very different, however. So you can see here on the trampoline next to me, the sail is flaked backwards and forwards like a big sausage, and it is essentially a tube. It's a snuffing sock that we have here. As I'm laying it out, most socks will have this stripe. It's a coloured stripe that runs down the sock, and that indicates that it's not twisted. If I can see this spinning around the sock at any time, that means it's twisted. When it goes up, it'll potentially tie itself in knots and the sail won't unfurl as it should. So starting at the top, we have the head of the sail, and it flakes backwards and forwards under these lines, backwards and forwards, and it comes all the way down to this snuffing sock here. So this is what you call the snuffer, I guess. Inside here, you can see the beautiful colour, the screen colour of the spinnaker. When you are setting up the spinnaker, it's important to keep all this spare material stuffed in. We've got a light wind today. It's only about 8 knots from the north, but if this was to catch, especially if you're short-handed, it can balloon quite quickly. So keep it all under control. And if you need to, turn away and head downwind to reduce your apparent wind across the deck. At the bottom of the snuffer here, or just out of the bottom, we have the tack. This is the front corner of the sail. This is attached to the tack line with a bowl in here. The tack line, as we've got it set, runs just behind me here out to the end of the pole, through a block or a pulley, and then back in, and we will be wrapping it onto this cleat. Monohull sailors will traditionally run this all the way back to a winch at the helm station, but given the design and the deck layout of a catamaran, it's easier just to have it shorter and running to a secure mounting like this. Important that this line is adjustable, as when we prepare to hoist the sail, we'll need to sneak the tack out to get it out close enough to the bowsprit, and then maybe when we're flying it, we'll need to ease it off to trim the sail effectively. The third and final corner of the sail is the clew. Now, this is a Rolly Tasker sail. I would like to thank Rolly Tasker for all they do for us. They're a great company to work with, so Greg and Sam, thank you. We've had a lot of fun with your sails, so much appreciated. Rolly Tasker do a great job of labelling all 3 corners of the sail so that we don't hoist it back to front. It's just very embarrassing. So generally we can get it right first time. Attached to the clew are the 2 sheets. Okay, we've got 1 which goes off down the starboard side here, already run, as we saw. And we've got the other one, which goes around the back of everything. So when we hoist the sail, we want the lazy sheet running around the back of the sail, set up for an outside jibe. Remember those words, outside jibe as opposed to inside jibe. We'll talk through what they are later on. So the third and final fixing point is the head. It's a 2-to-1 halyard on this Lagoon 42. Other halyards do vary, and I'll fix this directly onto the head. Being a 2-to-1 halyard, it's important that it's not twisted, because we don't want this sail to twist. You know, we've got our stripe nicely lined out here. We don't want it twisting. So it's important that the halyard isn't twisted in preparation for the hoisting. Done. In addition to the 3 main connection points on this sail, we have the snuffing line. Now the sail's in a sock, it's got a snuffer. This line, the white one here in my hand, is what we use to control the snuffer. So it lifts the snuffer up to unfurl and pulls it down to stow the sail. When setting up, it's important that this just runs to a central point on the boat and isn't tangled with any other sheets. So I'm going to leave this right there. The sail is all connected and prepped on the foredeck. We have our 3 fixing points. We have the head of the sail, we have the tack, which goes at the bow of the boat, and we have the clew, which is attached to the sheets for trimming the sail. So we're all set to hoist. So the main is now up. We've gone for full main today just because it's nice light wind conditions. We are just under Barrenjoey Lighthouse, right at the top of Pittwater. We've got an 7 to 8 knot kind of north-northeasterly wind. So we're just turning downwind now. We'll be easing out the mainsail. And we're going to hoist the sock up the mast on about 160 degrees wind angle. What this means is we'll be hoisting the sock of the spinnaker behind the wind shadow of the mainsail for a more controlled operation. Once we have hoisted the sock, we will then come further upwind to about 120 degrees, so we've got a better wind angle and more apparent wind for filling the sail as we open up the sock. So we've got one person at the mast hoisting the sock. If you want to go for the hoist, Ross, just pull it up nice and slowly. And we've got another person tailing the halyard on the winch at the helm station. So there are 3 involved with this. What I'm doing down here is I'm just making sure it goes up. I'm keeping a bit of tension on it to keep it away from the rig and away from the spreaders. And I'm also just making sure that blue stripe that we have here, that's going up, not twisted. So keep going all the way. Okay, that's perfect, hold it there. So the sail is now hoisted, and it's important at this stage is the sail is made for the dimensions of the boat. So it's important that we hoist it all the way up until it stops, and the chap hoisting on at the mast there can shout "made" to communicate to everyone that the spinnaker is up as far as it can go. This is important because, as I said, the cut of the sail is designed with the boat. If there's too much sail down here, it'll be coming into contact with all the little sharp, catchy things and potentially even wrapping under the hull, which is what we don't want. So we want the sail to be clear of the deck at this stage. You can see here the bottom of the sock here is here, the snuffer is here. I've got my clew here with the 2 sheets attached, and the tack is hanging out the bottom here. The snuffing line, just to control the sail at this low speed, I've just cleated it off onto the cleat here on the foredeck. So the next stage of the hoist, or unfurling the code 0, is to pull on the tack line. So this is the tack line here, got it behind me, and I can pull it forward. I'll pull it to about 1 meter just above the pole, and I'll cleat it off. Now this is called kind of sneaking the tack. You do this to get the tack out beyond the bows, near the bowsprit, before we hoist. That means when we hoist, the luff of the sail is going to be tighter, which is, and it'll spread the sail more by pulling on the sheet, make it that triangle and allow it to fill with wind. So we are hoisted now. It looks beautiful, it's under control, the boat's just sitting beautifully. We have still got the engines on just to control the speed in these light winds. It's a little bit confined in here in Pittwater as well, so it's a good job that we've got a couple of people helping. So to fly the asymmetrical spinnaker, we have 1 person or 1 crew member on the sheet. We have 1 crew member on the snuffing line. The sock is raised and the sheet is pulled on. Okay, so we're all set to go. We have a crew member on the starboard sheet, which is the leeward side of the boat. That's the side we'll be pulling the sail out on. The wind is coming just over my left shoulder here. And we have come up to about 120 degrees. So that's to increase our apparent wind and also give more broadside to the boat so that the sail can fill easier. Once it's filled, we can then turn downwind to start making tracks further downwind. So we're all ready. If I grab the snuffing line, there are going to be two things happening. So we've set the tack, that's a set and forget at this stage. The two things happening are I'm lifting up the snuffing sock and Ross, our owner, is on the starboard side winch. He's given me a thumbs up, he's all ready to go. And he's going to be pulling on that clue or that sheet as we unfurl. Okay, so I'm going to lift this up and give it a nice good pull, Ross. Okay, so the sock's going up, and I want to do this nice and fast to allow the sail to fill really nicely. You can see the sock is going all the way up, and when it stops at the top, I keep tension on this line and cleat it off. And how good does this look? What a pretty sail, what a pretty color, perfect in conditions like this. It's important to note when we're looking at a sail in these conditions, when you would actually use this sail. A day sail on Pittwater or Sydney Harbour, you probably wouldn't be flying this sail because it's not that relaxing in confined spaces. This sail is really an offshore passage making sail, so sailing up the east coast of Australia, out into the Pacific, transatlantic, trans-Pacific. It's a long distance passage making sail when you've got plenty of room and light winds to go with it. In light winds, this does expand the boat's capability massively. It'll increase your speed by quite a long way when the wind does die off. Let's just head down the starboard side, look at the sheet and how the Spinnaker is flying. So we are set beautifully. We're still on that kind of 120 degree wind angle here. You can see the sail, it's sheeted in quite a lot because we're quite high. And you can see the luff of the sail, it's just curving around a little bit. So it's actually being backwinded on the very leading edge of the luff there. That is fine. If we were racing, that's kind of what you'd want. The idea with an asymmetric kite is that you have it out as far as you can. And as soon as it starts to luff at that forward edge, you just tighten it on a little bit. So the idea is it's out as far as you can without it flapping. So it's all the way out until it luffs and then in 6 inches maybe, just to fill it back in. What we can do now is we can actually go further downwind and try and get this sheet eased out a little bit more to show the kite in more of a downwind mode. You know, we're near enough on the beam here at 120 degrees. So this sail can be flown, depending on the wind strength, down to about 160 degrees. Beyond that, really you're in symmetrical territory at that stage. The other option with, instead of using a symmetric, you can move the tack line onto your windward bow. We're quite deep downwind now, the sail's out a nice long way. You can see the actual luff of the sail is, you know, almost to the windward side, or it was almost to the windward side of the jib, so it's really bellying out nicely. With it luffing on the front edge there, you could pull it in a little bit if you're racing, but we never are. So it's generally a good idea to set this sail without any luffing on the forward edge, so maybe slightly over tightening it. You know, if you're not racing, just over tighten it a bit, makes it more of a kind of set and forget setup. Obviously, with a sail like this, you're still monitoring it at all times because when the wind does change, it can become quite noisy and things can go wrong quite quickly. Before we jibe the Spinnaker, it's important to mention that there is more than one way to jibe. What we're going to demonstrate now is a racing jibe, just to show what can be done with enough crew on board like we have today. The more advisable option, especially for those cruising in a more relaxed environment, you're not racing. So I would do what you call a cruising jibe. So I'll just talk through how this sail is set up for an outside jibe. I mentioned this earlier. The lazy sheet, which runs to the port side, must run outside of the tack line. There's a bit going on. You've got to have someone on the sheet easing the sheet fast. You've got to have someone pulling on the lazy sheet nice and fast. Also, someone also on the helm turning the boat quite slowly. So when we jibe, we're going to ease the sail out. It's going to become a flag, and we're going to pull it in on the other side. Okay, and we have jibed the sail. That is beautiful. The preferable option if you're cruising, especially just with just 1 or 2 or 3 people on board, is to do what we call a cruising jibe. This is a lot more controlled. It involves snuffing the kite, jibing the boat, and unsnuffing on the new tack. So let's demonstrate that now. The snuffing line does need to be on the leeward side. Because we have jibed, I need to spin this around the sail or around the forestay and bring it down. So now I'm pulling down on the port side of the vessel. In order to snuff it, I need to have the sheet eased as much as I can to spill all the wind. So if you can ease the sheet, see the sheet start to ease now. And as soon as I got a bit of slack in that, I can pull on the snuffer to get the kite down and out of the way. Now that the kite's on the deck or under control, I can give a thumbs up to the helmsman and we'll turn and jibe the boat. The mainsail will do its thing, being a mainsail. And as the boat jibes, I'm just going to flop the bag to the other side. It's important to do this when the boat is heading downwind. As soon as I get a bit of apparent wind on that, it's a lot harder to flop the bag around. Once that's done, I can pull all the rest of the lines, the snuffing line here. I can recleat it on the cleat here. And because we've moved the sail now from one side to the other, we just need to make sure all the sheets and lines come round as well, so that when the sail unfurls on this side, nothing gets tangled. Okay, we're ready to unfurl one more time. So Terry, our fourth crew member, is on the leeward side now. I'm just going to check that this lazy sheet here is free to run. That's free to run. We're now on the new tack, or the new heading, and we can undo the snuffing line and hoist the bag. Okay. And there we go. Beautiful. So we've jibed the boat twice now. We've done what you call a racing jibe, which was fast and needed a few people. The second one was just a cruising jibe. It's a lot slower. It doesn't matter if it takes you 20 minutes to get everything set before you unfurl on the new side. Obviously, flying an asymmetric kite like this, it's important to do it with plenty of space. So don't practice on pit water, head offshore a couple of miles, give yourself plenty of room and a nice day like we have today with plenty of light wind. So as I mentioned at the start of this video, this was a training session for one of our owners. The boat doesn't belong to us, so I'd just like to thank Ross very kindly for the use of the boat, for sail training today. We all had a great time and it was a beautiful day on pit water. So once the spinner kit is snuffed, it is ready to drop onto the deck. This can be done directly into a bag. Most spinnakers come in a kind of rectangular storage bag. For this purpose, because we're going to hoist again, we're just going to flake it right back on the deck like it was done. So to do this, you have someone on the halyard at the helm station, and you can have one or two people on the foredeck here just pulling it down and helping it come down where you want it. So if you can ease the halyard and just very neatly pull it down, flake it nicely on the deck. So there is probably more going on with this sail than any other sail on the vessel. It is an amazing sail, the Asymmetrical Spinnaker. You know, long distance cruising, sailing offshore, transatlantics, trans-Pacifics, you know, sailing out into the Pacific from Australia. It's one of the best downwind sails. So it's really great to get the hang of it. You know, you could always almost practice on a day when there are 0 knots, or, you know, 0 knots in a marina, just hoisting up the sock and looking at the rig, making sure it goes up without getting tangled. Because when you can use these and the conditions are right, they're just a stunning sail. And we've really had the 42s up and going with an asymmetrical kite. My name is Joe Fox from the team at TMG Yachts. We do hope you enjoyed this video talking about the Asymmetrical Spinnaker. There are more videos coming, so if you do want to see more lagoon and catamaran related content like this, do hit like and subscribe. And we're always welcoming your feedback as well, so do drop a comment down below.
We hope you enjoyed this video. We'll see you next time.